There we go. Hi guys, my mic wasn't on. Buck did it again. Well, you know that. You guys know that. Welcome to the bait shop. Again. What's wrong now? Okay, it should work now. You still can't hear me? Somebody should hear me. All right, we got it on. All right, here we go. Well, you know what? You know that happens. All right, I have to rehash everything my blank lips were going over. Hi, Micah. How are you, buddy? Can you hear me, Micah? Oh, we hear you. Okay, good. Well, guys, welcome to the bait shop. It's Buck once again. I didn't have anything planned. Weezy Mouse and I had to go out today. We're shopping, you know. We're shopping for stuff, so had to take off and go look at something today. Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun, but we don't know yet. It's a good thing. Get us out in the woods camping a little bit. Anyway, I was not prepared. I didn't have anything written down today, so we're going to go over the last mission, the Trophy Bass 2. That's the one that I just completed. I just put the video up, I don't know, maybe an hour ago. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see that, but that's what I've been fishing on. I've been fishing that guy for the last couple of days here. Hell, we've been climbing trees in Falcon. Weezy Mouse lost her boat at Falcon. We still can't find it. Somebody stole some bitch. I don't know. It's gone. We're gonna get to the bottom of that. That's for sure. Grandpa Stewart's catching him and Coach are catching tree bass up in the trees at Falcon. I don't know. This week was crazy. It was crazy. But I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, I want to talk about real life. It's springtime, and it's time to get ready for the bass. I've already been out twice. Okay, guys, I've been out twice for the bass. Caught a bunch of crappie and a couple of little bass. Nothing yet, because the water's cold still around here in Pennsylvania. However, I wanted to talk a little bit about in the springtime. Now, right now, the water levels in most places should be a little bit high with the spring runoff coming off the mountains. However, here in Pennsylvania, we have a bunch of bullshit mismanagement people. We've got lakes that, you know, you try to put your boat in there and it's not a motorboat, it's a friggin' garden tiller because you're turfing up mud. You might as well, don't want to talk about Loyal Hannah Lake. For any of you boys here in Pennsylvania, do not go there. That scum-ridden place is no good. They ought to condemn it. Anyway, I'm done there. I'm done. But in the springtime, you got two choices. When the water level is dropping, the bass are starting to move a little bit. You need crankbait or you need worm rigged up Carolina style. And we have them in the game. Carolina rig, we got Texas rigs, we got Carolina rigs, and that's what works for these bass. And that's what we're going after here, the bass. Probably the most number one sought after game fish in America is the largemouth bass. And that's what the Trophy Bass 2 mission's all about, largemouth bass in America. And lo and behold, they gave us the worm jig that we have to use. Now, I could have rigged this thing up, I guess. No, I couldn't, because I tried that. I remember that. That's the first thing I did was I hooked up a Carolina rig and tried to put that worm on it, and it told me I couldn't do it. I wasn't equipped. I remember doing that now specifically. Because that's the way we fish them around here. Now, Carolina rig and throw a rubber worm on an offset hook with a Carolina rig, and that's the way we catch bass here. That's the way you catch bass almost anywhere, in America at least. So, I couldn't get the Carolina rig worked up because it wouldn't give me credit, so we had to go with jig heads. So, but which is, if you got to use a jig head, basically, it's two different ways of delivering a worm. It's presentation. That's all. It's where the weight is, where the sinker is. In a Carolina rig, the sinker's in the top. Okay. if you're throwing a jig head, it's basically the sinker's in the top. So, however, with the Carolina rig, you've got a little bit of leader there that flops that worm in the back, and you know it keeps that flow. There's nothing down there with that. Now, Texas rig, you throw with the bowl spinner down there, then it's more like a jig. All right, so that's the baits that you need to use in real life at this time of year if you're out there searching for that largemouth bass. So we got a worm jig on here. We're going to go talk a little bit about the worm jigs that are in Fishing Planet here, and we're going to talk about the jigs. So with that being said, let me get my live stuff over there. Let's switch over. Oh, and by the way, I got the worms flowing there in the largemouth bass. I thought that was kind of added nice. All right, let's switch. Where's my mouse at now? There it is. Let's go to shop. What are we looking for first? Well, I thought it would be easier to go to shop than it would be to go down through my tackle box, because Fishing Planet still doesn't have a good setup here with the whole tackle box thing. That's for sure. So let's go look for lures. Let's look for soft baits, worms. Let's look at the worms first. Because this is what we've got. Now, they come in just a couple of colors, okay? So you've got your pearl, your chocolate, your blue, glow green, and then there's the pearl, and then there's actually, when you get up a couple levels, we get some pink ones here. Okay, so again, all gold down in here, all gold down in here, because they get you at these lower levels because you need this bait is hot. So a worm bait is really hot. So they're gonna Fishing Planet soaks you for a BC off of this. Clear it at that little level just to get a damn worm. You can't get a worm for money until you get to level friggin' 21. I think that's ridiculous. We should be able to buy worms at friggin' level 2. However, I mean, you can go out and dig a damn worm, you should be able to get this worm. But that's what they do to you. All right, so we get up here with the bigger baits, and now you got, you're looking at your 3-inch worms, but look, they're not expensive, $170 for 10 worms. Hell, Walmart charges you damn near that much for 10 worms, $170, for real. So, we got the purple now, we got the acid green. When you get up here and you get to the level 20s, now you can really start buying your worms. Acid greens, your glow green, again, your pearls, your chocolates, and that's pretty much it, because the purple one and the acid green was the one you need to get. Oh, this guy here too, the yellow one. I think level 27 is the first time you can get a yellow one. Unless you're going to pay gold. Right. Okay. I don't pay gold. And if you see me, if you ever see, because you guys are looking, I know, you see the little green stuff, so you know that I have it. If you ever see me like this blue in here, this gold, I didn't pay for that with gold. That came in some DLC. I ain't buying nothing. The only thing I buy are buoy markers with my gold and expand my tackle box. That's it. And sunglasses. I gotta look cool on the water. All right. So these are the worms. That's it. This is what we get. And basically, for you younger guys, the size of the worm depends on the size of the jig head and what you can throw on it. Now, that's not all. That's the rule of thumb. Okay, because let's go look at jig heads now. Bass, where's my jig heads? Oh, terminal tackle. I think that's where I need to be, right? Bullet sinkers, no. Where the hell are the jig heads in this game? Lures, they gotta be here. Jig heads, right here. All right, let's go to all of them. All right, now, jig heads. Now, don't you guys that fish start falling asleep. Weezy Mouse told me that I need to pay a little more attention to the beginner fisherman. And I need to explain more things. And maybe she's probably, well, not maybe, probably. 99.99% of the time, the woman's right. Okay, so if she's telling me I need to do this, I got to do this. All right, guys, jig heads. It's just a ball of mercury lead out there on the end of a hook. That's basically all it is, and you can hook up any rubber thing you want to this. Okay, in real life, they won't let you do it in the game, but in real life, like when I fish, I'll take a jig head and put a live minnow on that damn thing and fish a minnow down. And you talk about perch and crappie with that? Hell yeah. Okay, but they won't let you do it in the game, but just so you know that. I mean, and some of them are barbed, and some of them are actually barbed up on the shafts. You can see here, there's a little barb up here on the shaft, where this one down here, the barbless jig head, of course, it has no barbs anywhere, which is bullshit because you can't even hold a jig on there. You put a rubber jig on there, it'll just slide right off there after a couple casts, and you bounce and catch it on a rock. You're constantly friggin' trying to adjust your rubber on it. So, wouldn't go there. All right, so these are your jig heads. That's all they are. And they're different weights for different poles and different size hooks. All right, 4/0 hooks. And so you can just keep going up and up here. Now we have number 1 hook. We got a 2/0 hook. 1/0, 1/0, 1/0, 1/0. And as you get, they get heavier and bigger with bigger hooks. And all that is just getting you to the bottom, a bigger sinker, get you to the bottom. You can throw bigger tackle on it and longer rubber equipment on it. That's what a jig head does for you. You can throw it in cover, throw it in weed beds, throw it in lily pads. Jig heads are great for all kinds of fishing. You need to have a lot of different in your tackle box when you go out. Make sure you have a ton of these, different varieties, different weights. You need, and it just needs to be part. If you're going to do, if you're going to be a serious fisherman. I mean, if you're just a weekend fisherman, take a couple minnows with you and a crankbait, and you'll be fine. All right, so that's what jig heads are. So you take these jig heads, we mount them on these poles. Now here, they only let you mount them on a bass rod or a casting rod with some drunk invented because he put the eyelets upside down one day and they made probably 20,000 poles. What the hell are we going to do with these? We can't throw them away. You made them upside down. Well, then they said, okay, we'll just put a reel on the other end and we'll call it a bass rod. I know that's what happened. I know it. Because that rod's, other than the fact that it's so accurate to cast with. Bass rods are so accurate to cast with. And the best flipping stick you can have. So I guess they have a purpose in life. However, you can throw, well, here, don't get me going here. I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, this is what they call a float rod, a match rod. Okay, well, it's a fishing pole, for Christ's sakes. I can put an offset hook on it, and I can put a rubber worm on it if I want to. It's got a spinning reel on it. But no, Fishing Planet won't let you do that. That's against the rules. That's against the rules. All right, but you can take a spinning rod and you can put an offset hook on it. You just go over to your, I don't know if I have any offset hooks on me. Oh, I'm at home. How about we go to the backpack here? Do I have any? Oh, because I don't have, I didn't set it up with a Carolina rig. So it has to know whether, the only way you can put an offset hook on this, once you have the, you got to get that leader off of there and equip it with a friggin' Carolina or Texas rig. Then you can do your offset hook and all that. That's how Fishing Planet works. So you can do it on a spinning rod. You can do it on a bait caster. You can do the offset Texas rig or Carolina rig here. And as you can see, these are the sticks that I went with. And if you watch the videos, I fished with these two. Actually, this Farcaster 8.6 right here, this was the guy that did it all. Farcaster 8.6, Counselor 3000. What I had on, and he's an 8.6, 1.5 ounce. He's a 17.5 pound pole, but I beefed him up. I put a 21 pound engine on him, and I went easy on him this time. I only put 19 pound on here. Normally I run this reel with 20 pound test on a 17.5 pole. I run 20 pound test on here. I went easy on him because, well, I couldn't get 20 pound line at .006. which was the requirement for this bull crap. So that's what we did there. And this is the guy that caught, you know, this guy caught the first ones in the herring, the 2-pounders. Actually, and it was the chocolate worm too, I think. Pretty sure, because I didn't change this guy out. I changed this one around a couple of times with the rattlesnake worm. And the last one I got, now this is something to remember, guys. If you watch my video, the last the big trout, Christ, Tom, you're already looking at your notes thinking about the next mission. The last big largemouth bass, we had to get a Quanskin, and you know, that was the uni I pulled up. Well, Quanskin Lake is very shallow, and it's crystal clear. You can see that water. You can see, I mean, that's great footage. If you guys want to see bass pirouetting, standing up on end, and then attacking my bait and me catching it, that's the video you need to watch, because it's in there. That lake is so clear, and you have to remember that kind of stuff in that lake, because you can spook your fish so easily in there. Heavy braid will, you know, if you get down into that one section where the flathead catfish are, you can see that real clear against the bank. You use much as twitch that bobber, and if you're fishing with heavy braid, that catfish is gone. And Fishing Planet does it, because the thing of it is I never realized how good they were with their fish. But of course, some of their fish go psycho. I think their fish are on drugs or something. You know, like the little pirouette one. He was definitely looking for a place in the ballet. I don't know. He was doing that synchronized swimming shit. That's what was happening there. You got to check the video out. It's pretty cool. But the clear water down there and the touch of a braided line, be careful with that when you're baiting stuff up. And this is the bait shop. This is the stuff that I have in my notes that I make to myself. Be careful of Quanskin. You know, don't use thick line. And when I pay attention to my own notes, my fish catch ratio tends to go up. Right? So a lot of times I'm too lazy to change line. I'm going from one waterway to the other waterway. And I'm like, ah, to hell with it. I'm taking it with me. I'll just change the bait. Well, you will suffer if you don't pay attention to where you're going, the waterway. Now, you go to mud water, I think you could probably go out there with some baler twine and a bull rope, and it wouldn't matter, because you ain't shit seeing nothing anywhere in that river. So I think they all just hit on feelings. I don't know. But you know what I'm talking about. It's tough. All right, so this is what we did. These are the worm jigs. And oh, by the way, the mission is complete. I got this critter right here, the trophy bass jig. I had to try it out. And, oh gosh, I had a screenshot of it. Coach told me to take a screenshot, and I did, but I didn't have it prepared for the show, so I can't flip it up to you and show you. But this was the lure that we got for completing the bass, the Trophy Bass 2, which is a Trophy Bass Jig half-ounce silver, okay, 4-aught. And I caught a uni over there at Quanskin to complete this thing. I think it was 9 pounds something, 9.1 or something like that. Very big. And I took this lure, and at that point the mission was over, and I needed to make money, so I was tired of fishing with the worm, because, I mean, let's face it, the bass jig produces better. So Coach said, snatch that thing out. Let's try him out. Let's see what he can do. And we did. I caught 3 trophy largemouth in a row. Boom, boom, boom. 3 casts. Then I went 4 casts dead, and then landed another uni in that amount of time. So, not a bad lure. I'd have to say that it's called the Trophy Bass Jig, and it catches trophy bass. So I'll give it like a couple of thumbs up on that one. I think Coach would agree with me on that. How can I tell how long or short I need to put a leader when I fish from waterway to waterway? Aha! Good question. Good question, Wheezy Mouse. You guys, how do I know? Where do I set my leaders at? Well, in Fishing Planet, now in real life it changes. I mean, it depends on the bottom, what type of fish you're fishing for. And are the fish suspended, or are they on the bottom, or are they hitting on the top? So when it comes to the barber selection, and that's a very, very good question, because that means everything. Depth. If you're not fishing at the right spot in the water column, you could be out there all day in a boat, and you're fishing 3 feet, 4 feet deep, and a guy's in a boat right next to you, and he's fishing 8 feet deep, and he's yanking up fish, and you're driving yourself, what the hell's the matter? I'm fishing with the same bait. That can happen. So, always, if you're going to use a bobber, a slip bobber, if you're fishing in a lot of different areas, and basically you want to keep in the springtime, you want to keep your bait closer to the bottom, up off the bottom a little bit. A lot of the fish, and depending if you're going after crappie or bass or something, they're still hitting off the bottom early in the spring. Now in the game, where do you go? Well, the game is pretty much it's one cardinal rule. If you're fishing for what I call, quote, panfish, which are everything you can catch on an omni float. All right, guys, that's 19 inches, 20 inches down, or 50 centimeters. In this game, that will get you every waterway, every lake, every fish, of the Oscars, the red ears. Now, if you go get creative and you get down into the South American lakes, some of them lakes, that bobber will lay on its side at 19 inches, and you have to fish it at 13 inches. But you will catch unis and trophies down there of that particular fish, which they'd have the Oscars down there. Of course, they have the banded raccoons of that nature, that fish when you're down in South America. So there's a couple of spots, and again, you read your banks. If you're seeing rock banks, that's deep. Okay, so that's always going to be deep water anywhere along that shoreline where there's rock banks or a sheer cliff or anything. If you've got a gradual bank that comes down to the shoreline, you're going to have shallow water over there. So anytime you're fishing a bank that gradually flows into the water, shorten your leader up and float it differently. If you've got, you got big trees falling in the water and rocks sticking up there, they're towering up over you and your boat, you're talking deep water. Set your bobber a lot higher up. Get your bait down lower. All right, we didn't have time. Go over to weapons use. All right, well, I'm doing that kind of right now. That was my note here to make sure I talked about the weapons I used in the bass, the trophy bass 2 thing. Okay, and basically they were just what we were just going over here, these 3. The Farcaster with the counselor on it. This guy here helped out a lot on the smaller lakes, when we're after the 2-pounders. He's only a 9-pound pole. And of course we had, wrong one. I think it's 3. And this guy I used at the very end, actually. He only caught 1 fish in this whole mission. And that was the last uni largemouth bass. And the only reason I used this is because, I'm glad I stumbled across this. Here was the difference, fellas. This is why, and I had the same damn lure on here. I had a rattlesnake. I had a rattlesnake worm, okay, same size and everything, because this is a very light pole. If you see, this river spear, you can't put more than 1/2 ounce on it. But he's a 57-pound pole. So you can fish anywhere for anything from Lone Star all the way to the Congo with this pole. It's just my sweetheart. And so what I did, I had a rattlesnake worm on him, I think a 6/0. I had a 6/0 jig head on it, whatever that was, which it had to be very small because it only takes a 1/2 ounce. Okay, and that's what I had on there with the rattlesnake. And the reason I did that is because of this. Look at the recovery on my reel there. Now, this isn't a great recovery. I've got some reels, spinning reels that, they have they're in the 40s, 47, 49 inch recovery, okay, on this guy. However, it's a 39 inch with 6-to-1. So in real life, I can only imagine the spool on that reel is rather large. because it's a for every one crank you get 6. Of the handle you get 6 turns of that spool, and you're getting 39 inches out of it. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good recovery on it, and it worked. I've never got in trouble with that recovery. But if you look at what we're dealing with here on these guys, that's a 31 recovery, and we won't go any further than that. And this guy here is a 19.5 recovery. So you can see the big difference. And if you're working a jig on the bottom and you can't work the spindle at the proper speed, you won't get that jig to work right. I mean, this jig here, I just couldn't fish. I could not fish this setup in Quanskin. It's too shallow. This one here, I had trouble with. Now, on the 3-speed, I caught a lot of fish on this. Don't get me wrong, I did. But you really got to play with it. You got to know what you're doing, as far as getting it off the bottom. Because if you get too high up with these worms at Quanskin, especially in the places that I hunt, you'll get a lot of chain pickerel. Chain pickerel love this. They love this bait at Quanskin. Yeah, if you're fishing down there where I fish in my spots, the chain pickerel will eat the shit out of this. So if you get too high up in it, you get above 50% in the water column, you're getting chain pickerel. You just will. And that's what'll happen. All right, guys. Well, damn, that went fast. Oh, you're more than happy. You're more than welcome there, Weeze Mouse. You should ask me that sometimes out on the boat instead of shut up, I'm fishing. I love you, woman. You are the best. All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up for the bait shop tonight. We talked about the infamous #1 hunted game fish in America, the largemouth bass. We talked about how to slay them in the spring, too. Crankbaits, my fellas. Crankbaits and worms. Crankbaits and worms. Now, that's if you're fishing lures. Now, you can never go wrong with live small minnows, shiners. You know how that goes. If the day's hot and it's dragging up and your arm is tired, nothing wrong with putting a bobber on a float rod with a minnow so you can drink a few cold ones. Give the arm a rest. You never know, you may latch on to a monster. It happens all the time. All right, guys, let's do this thing here. Where are we at here? We're over there. We can do this. Hey, that worked, and I didn't mess anything up. I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you got something out of this little bait shop. I had to throw it together at the last moment, but I just kind of pulled shit out of my head. I'm sorry if the content wasn't there, but hopefully you got something out of it. Oh, by the way, talking about the largemouth bass, I had to look this up because I thought this was still the record, but I wasn't sure. I had to make sure so I wasn't talking out my ass. But the largemouth, 2009, Japan, 22 pound, 4 ounces. 22 pound, 4 ounce largemouth bass in Japan, 2009. I'd like to hook on to that critter now, wouldn't you? Hey, never ever give it. I don't even know where we're going fishing tonight. We're going fishing tonight at 8 o'clock. I should have done that. I don't even know. I was thinking about going to Blue Crab. Any thumbs up over here? Any thumbs up? Anybody want to go to Blue Crab tonight at 8 o'clock? I'm not getting a thumbs up anywhere. Because I thought about going to Blue Crab. Buck needs to make a little bit of money. I've been spending a lot of money doing these missions and just barely making my flight costs. I haven't made any money in a while. I've been getting stagnant. My numbers are dwindling. I need to get up there. I was thinking about going to Blue Crab. Maybe slaying. Have to get my big net out, my big boat. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Remember, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And please, subscribe if you watch my videos. I saw a guy out there that was actually crying because somebody unsubscribed to his channel and he had people watching his videos, but they wouldn't subscribe. I know how that feels. We'll see you later. Never, ever give up the fight.